Welcome back to the shop. We're out here, we're getting posted up. As you can see here, we're finally at the point where we got this here mower deck back from powder coat. Looks really good. All the patchwork came out really nice. Obviously a lot less holy than what it was prior. Came out pretty nice. Top cover looks pretty good. All of the dimples and stuff came out real smooth thanks to the Bailey planishing hammer. As you can see, you've got all the small parts in the back. Basically everything's John Deere yellow, even the blades. Some of the later ones, these were sold new in packages and they were painted green. I firmly believe that the 63s were yellow. That might be a discussion point. If you know anything other than yellow, put it down in the comments. And if you are going to say that, which I hope somebody informs me and proves me wrong, because that's how I learn, please tell me exactly why, and if you have any proof as in publications or printing or photographs of some sort of an original mower deck, of literature or something like that. For anything that I do that you see that might be wrong, put it down in the comments and show me where I can find this information as to see why I am incorrect. Because again, that's how I learn, and part of me putting together these videos is to show somebody who's doing this at home for their own mower deck that they can learn and know how to do it restore their mower deck basically in a correct OE restoration fashion. Such as just this past weekend I was informed like these pins are common on the mower decks for round fender for the draft plate. So if this stands there without getting fallen over and scratched, these usually go in here. And we talked about in the last video that the later draft plates have a little indentation here for this to go in to keep it from rocking. With that being said, I was informed that this pin, which is correct on the later ones, these do not go here because of the 63 draft plates not having the indentation here. There's no reason for this to be here, and that the original pin that went here is just a piece of round bar with two holes that had spring pin and a cotter pin in it. When somebody told me that, I went to the literature. This here is a 63 operator's manual for a 38 mower deck, specifically on a 63 mower deck. And the reason I know that is it says it right there. Also because on a operator's manual, this is your date code. So this is printed in June of '63. Also it shows this picture of 63 mower deck. Going through here, which is great. This is actually a photocopy. I have an original printing inside. I'm trying to keep my greasy fingers off of it by using this one. Pretty neat stuff in here. Going through, it helps me some of how to assemble this, so I have that out here in the shop while I'm putting it together. There's very little on the front draft plate. However, this does show a round bar with just a pin, and I'm going to insert here a photo of the actual parts diagram, and as you can see, it's for mower decks below 3550 serial number, which would designate this to be a 63 deck. And as you can see, the part number is for a different part based on the top draft pin, and it shows that it doesn't have the little tab on it. So the parts diagram doesn't show that this pin has this tab on it. So part of my question then is nothing in the parts diagram shows a different part number for the bottom pin. Now, I don't know, it's hard to tell in this photo, which is the only photo of a draft plate in this whole mower deck operator's manual, which I find interesting. But the parts diagram does not show a separate part number for that bottom pin. So as you can tell, I got two pins powder coated. my idea originally was one for the bottom, which this pin holds the draft arms. So the draft arms go on the bottom and ride in that pin. I thought in my head originally that one pin would be used here and one would be used at the top to hold it onto the frame, the tractor. In my head, based on the parts diagram and lack of photos in the operator's manuals, this should be a round pin with 2 holes in it, and this should be one of these pins because it would hold it from turning, and your draft arms would pivot on that pin, such as every other round fender 64 through 7. That's how I'm going to do it. If there's any proof or information as to this pin being basically a round bar with 2 holes in it, such as the one that should be up here, put it down in the comments. Let me know, because I'm trying to learn. I don't know 63 stuff that well. And as we talked about on the other video, the draft plates do not have anything here, as well as the indentation on the front. So you can see the little metal strap is gone. There is no little strap there for wear on the 63 draft plates. So again, I'm trying to make this as correct as possible. There's little details. If this is something that would need to be changed, I can obviously make new pins, and which I'm going to for the top one, which I might just do for both just to have it in case it needs to be changed. This is something that can very easily be pulled apart and changed. And this is where I enjoy finding like older restoration tractors that at a certain point, not many collectors or information was out there. So they just kind of did what they thought was right. And at the time it probably was, but as time goes on, more and more information gets put out there, which is partially, again, why I'm doing these videos. So little things like that that get bolted on, I enjoy finding stuff that was restored back in the day, taken apart again, fix little details like this and make them more correct. At the time it was probably correct, and probably in another 20 years somebody's going to pull this mower deck apart and realize that this is all incorrect and redo it better than I could at this point in 2025. A lot of small parts here, obviously. Deck arms, spindle housings. These are the spindles. The shafts got powder coated, so I will need to abrasively take these off. The powder coating off of this while leaving the bottom arms on it. Another 63 specific part, because the 63 blades get held on with 2 bolts, which is kind of neat. Pulleys came out really well for that. Main drive pulley, I pulled all the bearings out of it when I was taking it apart, so we'll have to push new ones in. Same thing with the main bearings. I have all new bearings for all that. I left all of the spring clips. They're not normal snap rings. They don't have the holes in them. So I left them in there. That's your stop for where the bearings go, which is great. I can just press new ones in and good to go. Basically, it's just a matter of assembling all this, put new bearings and everything, bolting it all into the mower deck, and then putting all new belts and everything on. I have a lot of parts over here, a bunch of random hardware and junk, old bearings just to match up in case something goes wrong. Never throw it out until you're officially done, then you throw it all out, because then you're just a hoarder. Once everything's assembled, put the top cover on. There's a decal that goes on the bottom side of the top cover, and then I could bolt that on and then put all the decals on the front, as well as the serial tag. So I have the correct special serial tag rivets here that go on that. I'm debating what to do on the serial tag. I might put it on as I found it. It's not too bad shape. I might try to put the black paint back on it like it was originally. I don't think it's too bad, so I'm just going to leave it. Not sure yet, but we'll go from there. So stick along. keep on keeping on. So one of the things that I find neat, putting these things back together, we got to press a lot of bearings in. Taking stuff apart, you find little things, and sometimes it's fun to make everything all perfect and shiny, but put a little bit of character and originality back in it. So this is the main pulley, drive pulley. This goes here on a stud, has a bearing in it. That's what makes it spin. Bought new bearings in it, pressed the old ones out. They really weren't bad, but for the money, just put new ones in. This deck will probably never ever see a blade of grass, but at least you'll have new bearings in it. Taking it apart, basically you have to pull one bearing out from the top side, and then when what you're left with is this little spacer. So this is part number M40153. This sits in here, and your two shoulders basically space your two bearings apart. So this sits in here, and you press the other one in from the top. So you have to pull one out, and then you can push the other one and this spacer out the other side. Kind of neat. This is the original one in it. Now this is obviously a replacement from the two-legged deer, signifying that this is a replacement. I find it interesting to know, because I'll never know, was this pulley replaced? Was the bearings replaced? Were everything replaced? When, who, why, where? What's the story on it? So this is obviously not new. However, being that you'll never see it ever again, I'm going to attempt to leave the sticker on it and put this back in here and press the new bearing in on top. So just a fun little thing that basically no one will ever see except for you and the next guy in 100 years when he takes this all apart to either scrap it or rebuild it, because they used it in the apocalypse to mow the grass. All right, so we got this bearing plate all put back together. I just wanted to show that every single piece basically gets detailed externally and individually before it gets put on, as well as just to show kind of my process. Everybody does everything a little differently. We got the powder coat off of the actual bearing shaft to allow it to fit on the bearing. Weird little things like that are 63 specific, that shaft with the plate on it, because the mower blade actually gets bolted on with two bolts. It's not that they go together differently, but it's just kind of odd compared to normal 38 decks. So I just try to go through every single piece, reference the parts catalog, and then look at what I have that I took off the deck. And that's why I highly recommend keeping all your old hardware and whatnot. For little washers that are just odd sizes, that use specific reasons, like these bearings, obviously push the new bearings in isn't too big of a deal, but there's a spacer that goes in between them, so you don't want to forget those. And then underneath you have a sealing washer, a regular washer that's two small washers, and then a much thicker washer that kind of acts as a spacer. That all goes on the bottom side, and so when it spins, it keeps that plate just off of the bearing housing. These bearing housings were updated in '64 to a cast piece. So again, weird specific things that you can't get anymore, so you want to be careful with them, but also they use different hardware and things like that to where, as you're going together, they're not a normal thing. So if you've restored a normal 38 deck, they go back together slightly different. So referencing the parts catalog is very handy, and then also referencing your old hardware is very helpful. As well as things like, before we put all this together, you want to run a tap through the threaded holes here on the base. Run a tap through that to get all the gunk and sandblast media and all the powder coat out and whatnot. So doing that just saves a whole lot of cross threading and, you know, trying to jam, you know, new bolts into old threads that are all gunked up from years and sandblasting and whatever else. I was looking at the parts catalog, things like this. This is a spacer washer that goes on the top. I have the old ones and the other two here. So these go on top of the bearing housings. However, you do not use these if these pulleys were replaced. So based on how these go together, and with this, you can kind of see how it's spaced off. Well, that's because of that washer. So I guess there's a different pulley part number that if these were replaced, you do not use that washer. So it's weird little things like that that can really back yourself into a corner. So always keep the hardware and little parts and stuff until you're completely done, because you might need it. So we'll put these all together. You have to put basically this assembly together and bolt it up from the bottom. You don't put these down through the top before you bolt them in. I also did the same thing for this pulley, pushed new bearings in it. You can kind of hear that, very quiet, very smooth, very demure. Correct size bolt, new bolt, correct internal toothed washer, basically just as the parts diagram shows, threaded into the deck. So chase the thread on the deck, bolt this on, tighten it down, good to go. So I'm going to put these bearing housings up on the bottom, bolt them in with new bolts, and then we will put these on with the keyways on the top, and then put nuts. I might have to go get new locking nuts for this. I don't know if I have the right ones with the right threads. Really, once that's the case, then it's all your tensioners and whatnot to go on after that. So I just wanted to make note, you know, detailing every little detail individually, and then put it on. Save yourself the hardware. It comes in handy. All right, so I got the whole top side of the deck basically put all together. These pulleys kind of fought me. That one there really fought me. It kind of popped off. I was trying to pull the pulley off the shaft to readjust the key, and definitely hit it with a hammer, and it popped off a lot faster than I thought and socked me right in the lip. So that's fun. But it's the dedication and determination that we have for these things. Definitely had to take a die and clean up the threads of these. I think air hammering these out when disassembly kind of deformed them a little bit. Now they work great. Not really too like deformed that they're no good, but just cleaning them up just made everything go a lot easier. The keyways with them being half moon like that are always not really fun. Got new either pulleys, new belt, new spring. You can see in the last video, and if you have not watched, go back to the channel and give it a watch. Had all this stuff all kind of mocked up before we took it over to powder coat with all the new spring stuff, but this just makes this go way faster, way easier, because you know everything's kind of there and laid out. So really, this is all done, ready to go. Everything's smooth. Nice and quiet. Back here is something that I still don't understand, and I think they changed. There's not much room, and you can kind of see it rub a little bit as the main pulley here. I think that's just a common thing. There's bends to go down around that, but whether or not that really works the best is up for debate. But like I said, I don't think this thing's ever going to get used, and if it does, not very long. So everything works great, new bearings and everything. Everything spins like it should. I'm going to adjust this based on the tension in the operator's manual, and again, stuff like that is why you have the manuals and brochures and things to tell you exactly how to do it. You can see the bolts here. I have the bottom roller in. So I have that all put back together. I have one blade on it. I'll put the other ones on. I was using this to hold on to it while I chase the threads on the top. You can see how it's held on by the 2 bolts. Basically, this is how it was. The later blades, as you can see, only were held on by 1 bolt with large washers that are cupped. These are correct for 63. Should be good to go. I didn't really sharpen them. Like I said, I don't plan on mowing with this, but also kind of dangerous. You can see the slot where that tip trigger for this pulley goes. So I still got to put the front wood roller on here. Once that's on, really at that point, we'll put the top cover on, put the top arms on, and then the serial tag. So moving right along, other than that pulley literally fighting me, this thing's going back together really nicely, and I'm very excited about the end result. All right, so we got the top cover here flipped upside down. It gets a decal on the bottom, so I just wanted to make note that I got the decal all applied. This just tells you kind of where to install the belt and how to tension it and all that sort of thing. This is a correct style decal for it, and this is the correct location for it. Even though you'll never see it, I want to know that it's there and it's where it should be. So just make a note of that. I got that done, and the front roller here put on. So that looks good. This looks good. We'll turn this back over and bolt it onto the top of the deck. I think I finally got this thing whooped. This thing really has been a labor of love. There's a lot of work involved here. This thing came out pretty good. Very excited to have it done. I don't know what exactly I'll do with it now, but if anybody has a 63 that they don't have a mower deck for, this here's a good one for you. Get a hold of me if you're interested in it. There's a lot of work involved, but well worth it. Not something you come across every day, especially now in this condition. It's pretty much ready to go. Since last time I clicked in, it's got the top cover mounted, all the correct hardware on it. The new welded studs that we put in it, again in the previous video or 2 videos ago, turned out very nicely now that everything's all powder coated and put back together. Fresh new threads are just a lot nicer than 60-year-old junk. All the rust repair looks great. Obviously no holes poking through. You know, can't stick your entire hand through here. Got the top cover mounted, and then I put the lift arms on. Got those on. Obviously not too difficult, correct hardware and stuff. Bolt them on. Then I put, there might be some discussion, which I'm open to. These are the correct style 63 deck pins. Sometimes people find them on original 64 tractors. I think they just used up a bunch of them. These are correct. However, I'm leaving these silver. I believe originally they were either zinc coated or silver painted. I have seen original paint tractors with yellow deck pins, and I'm up for debate. I personally believe that they were originally silver. I have some literature that shows that. I have some literature, I believe, that show them yellow. I don't know if it's just a batch by batch. They only made so many in a run, then they made more. Some were yellow, some were silver. I personally find it neat to see them silver just as an accent and a detail that shows that, you know, it could have been sprayed with everything else, but these were taken apart, painted separately with silver or zinc coating. So you got 4 of them, 2 for the deck arms and 2 for up front. Like I said, this is correct for the 63, early 64s before they went to a machined with a round flat head here to grab. Got the front deck roller on, got the decals on, so the small 4-legged decal goes here, and width of cut and caution decal. There are 2 or 3 versions of this. There are 2 or 3 versions of the caution decal. The wording is actually slightly different. I believe that this is the correct one. So you want to make sure you get that. Also got the correct wheels on it. It's been real nice, all nice and new. You'll have the steel wheels with the rubber tires on them. You can see in the back here how that all looks. This thing came out pretty good. Everything spins nice. No real issues, not that I expected them to. Underneath, I got all 3 mower blades on. Again, nice and clean up underneath. Don't really plan on seeing much grass, but you know, it is what it is. Draft plate, I put the pin in it for now, and the pin on the top. Like I said, this will get replaced eventually, but for now, this should be all right. I'm not putting this on the tractor because I don't have a 63 to put it on, but that's on. Use the correct pins for that as well. So like I said, there's a total of 4 that you need. Also, I riveted the serial tag on with the correct style rivets. You can see it's 3511. I chose to kind of restore the serial tag. I insert photo here. I use a small toothpick or scribe and lid of paint basically and dab it on. It came out really well. That process allows you to basically polish, not really polish per se, but just brighten up the lettering that's raised and then tape off the areas that should not be painted and then paint where it needs to be. But so far so good. I kind of like doing that, especially on restored stuff. If it was like an original preservation type of deck, I would not do so, just as in it's not original. My concern with this is you get some of these tags. This one was in pretty good shape, but you really get pretty rough tags sometimes. And they're there and you know what tags they are, or like what serial numbers they are, but you get this beautiful restored deck and you know, everything around it is all beautiful and basically as new as it came out of the dealership. And then you got this real ratty looking serial tag. So doing that kind of allows it to be just as new as the rest of the deck. Like I said, I used the correct style rivets, not pop rivets. So as to basically make it again as close to original as possible. They're kind of a pain in the butt to do. You have to have special tooling and stuff, but well worth the efforts again to make it as close to as you would have walked into a John Deere dealer back in 1963, and this is how you would have gotten it. So I appreciate everybody following along. It's kind of neat to see everybody come up to me at shows and sales and stuff and say, hey Carl, I've been watching your videos. So that's real fun and I appreciate it. Stick along because we're gonna continue to pump out some content and continue to do projects such as this. If everybody likes the multi-part process in short videos, you know, I think this one's 4 or 5 episodes per se. To get to the finished product, or if you want it all in one long hour or 2 long video, let me know on that. Put it down in the comments, and I appreciate everybody following along and tell me what you think. And if anybody wants this, let me know. It is for sale, but it's not on sale. Keep on keeping on.